Hey everybody, welcome back to Disneyopolis. I'm Brian. As always, we're here in City Hall for another great show. Got my best buddy Paper Duffy with me. We got a really great show planned for you today. Did want to point out that we're wearing the old school Disney DVC hat. We're going to be back in the old school Mickey Mouse ears, Mickey Mouse Club ears on our next show, but wanted to give this one a spin for a little bit. Also, before we get into the show, I wanted to remind you that we have just about a week left, or a little under a week actually, with our Cars 2 giveaway. We've got 2 of these to give away, and all you need to do in order to qualify to win is subscribe to the channel. We'll be announcing the winners here in the next couple of shows. We're just going to do a random drawing, again, based on the fact that you signed up to the channel, that you subscribed to the channel. So make sure you do that. If you're just kind of somebody who kind of stops by and lurks in the background and watches the videos, we're glad you're here. But this is your chance to pick up a brand new unopened copy of Cars 2 on DVD, courtesy of, courtesy of Paper Duffy and a bunch of my Disney rewards points that he cashed in without my knowledge. So anyway, let's get on with the show. If you've been a Disney fan any length of time, and I know you have or you wouldn't be here, you know there's a lot of great things to keep yourself immersed in Disney that you can do on a day in and day out basis. Among those, we've talked about, Disney themed radio stations, or trip planning DVDs, planning trips, just even watching, popping in a DVD or Blu-ray, or as we said a couple shows back, some of the old school VHS tapes. Well, one of the things that I personally have gotten the most pleasure out of, that's kind of kept that Disney-ness alive, is the Disney Channel and some of the things that they put out on the Disney Channel. Among those are Disney Channel original movies, DCOMs, you've heard them talked about. And they've been doing this for a long time. I would say it's probably been the last 20 years or so that they've been putting these Disney Channel original movies out. We're going to take a look at some of my personal favorites, and I want to hear from you. Make sure that you write in the comment section down below what kind of Disney Channel original movies are your favorites. Now, I'm not going to touch on all of them, and I'm sorry if I don't touch on yours, but I'm just going to kind of talk about a few that I personally have enjoyed and that my family's enjoyed over the past few years. And so we're going to go ahead and get started, and these are in no particular order. And I do have my cheat sheets with me today because we've seen so many of them. I want to make sure that I get my facts right. First one, Zenon, the Girl of the 21st Century. If you haven't seen this one, you're missing a treat. This is a wonderful, wonderful Disney Channel original movie. Probably one of the first ones that kind of got a big audience going. Of course, it had Kirsten Storms and Raven of That's So Raven. She went by Raven-Symoné and the Cosby Show and everything. But the year it's set in is the year 2049, and Zenon Carr is a 13-year-old girl who lives with her family and on an Earth-orbiting space station. And after she gets in trouble with the space station's commander, her parents punish her, and they send her to Earth to live with her Aunt Judy. If you've ever had to live with your Aunt Judy, you know that's rough. That's rough punishment. Anyway, on Earth, Zenon experiences trouble fitting in with the other kids. They consider her, woefully out of touch with pop culture. She doesn't know the slang. She doesn't know the hip and cool phrases. And she gets homesick, communicates with friends back on the orbiting space station, but, via video phone tablet. Anyway, Zenon ends up making friends on Earth with 2 boys, Andrew and Greg, with whom she actually develops a relationship. And along the way, these kids learn to be more accepting of one another. There's an interesting, if you go looking for it, maybe I'll just post a link in the show notes. There's actually an MTV post that came out a few years ago about what kind of things did Zenon, the 21st century girl, get right about the 21st century. And it's actually a pretty interesting read. So again, I'll put it in the show notes. But anyway, there's there's trouble on the space station. Zenon enlists the help of her friends to try and save the space station, and there's a dance contest. I don't want to ruin it for you, but honestly, it's probably the first Disney Channel original movie, like I said, that really kind of got a large audience acceptance and people were interested in. So again, that is Zenon, the 21st Century Girl. I do believe it's out on home media, so make sure you get your copy of it and enjoy it. Next up is Jump In. Jump In came out in 2007. Again, it was a Disney Channel original movie. Starred Corbin Bleu and Keke Palmer, and it really revolves around Corbin's character Izzy, whose dad was a boxer, a Gold Glove boxer, and he wants to follow. He's training to follow in his dad's footsteps, and apparently he's a really good boxer. And along the way, when his friend, played by Keke Palmer, her name is Mary, when she actually has a crush on him, she asked him to kind of substitute for a team member doing double dutch. She noticed him training with the jump rope, thought he was pretty good, and asked him to become a part of it. Basically what ends up happening is Dad's not real happy with the fact that Izzy's ignoring his training, thinks he's abandoning boxing, and he's really not abandoning boxing so much as he's just enjoying double dutch rope jumping. And anyway, he and Izzy and Mary form a relationship, and it's actually a really fun movie. It's got a great soundtrack. Most of these do have soundtracks available, and you can find those at iTunes or Amazon or wherever it is you get your music. But this one had one of my favorite Disney Channel original movie songs, which is Jump by Jordan Pruitt, who was, I think this last year, was actually a contestant on The Voice. So good stuff. Check it out if you have an opportunity to do it. Again, that's Jump In, and that was from 2007. Perhaps one of my favorite ever Disney Channel original movies is probably one you've not really paid attention to or heard a lot about. In 1999, Disney gave us Horse Sense. Horse Sense starred Andy and Joey Lawrence, brothers, in real life. Of course, Joey plays a guy named Michael, and he's kind of a spoiled LA kid. And when his cousin, played by his brother, Andy, comes out to visit him in Los Angeles, he basically ignores him the whole time. He promises to take him to Disneyland. He doesn't do it. He promises to do other things for him. He doesn't do it. And basically, he's rotten to his cousin just by ignoring him. And so, long story short, his folks aren't happy about it, so they actually send him off to a farm that Andy's character's dad or mother runs. They don't have a dad, and they run this farm by themselves with the help of a few ranch hands. And Joey's character, Michael, actually kind of gets a taste of what it's like to actually have responsibility. And there's a backstory about how the farm could go into foreclosure. They're fighting to keep themselves afloat. Anyway, it's a fantastic story. Such a good story that they even showed it in my church, to a bunch of the kids, just because of the good lesson that it has to it. But again, Horse Sense came out in 1999. They actually had a sequel to it. It was so good, called Jumping Ship. So if you get an opportunity to check that out, either one of those, you will not be disappointed. Great movies. And again, that is Horse Sense. Came out in 1999. Up next, Pixel Perfect. If I had to say, what are my top three, Horse Sense would be in there, and Pixel Perfect would be right next to it. Pixel Perfect is a Disney Channel original movie. Starred Ricky Ullman, as well as Leah Pipes. This one actually, and I've got a quick story to tell about that here in a second too. There's a soundtrack to it. But this is a story about a kid named Roscoe, played by Ricky Ullman. And you remember he was in Phil of the Future on the Disney Channel. But he plays the son of a guy who runs a lab that develops holograms, basically, and for practical use. Well, when his friend, played by Leah Pipes, her name is Samantha, and she has a band called the Zetabytes. They can't find a lead singer. They've got to find a new singer. I forget what the circumstance was behind it. Roscoe gets the idea, hey, I'll create a singer. He's a smart kid, so his dad lets him have access to all his equipment. And he creates a hologram made out of different pictures of different girls he's seen in magazines and people he knew, including Samantha. And he creates a hologram called Loretta Modern. And she turns out to be a fantastic boost to the band. But then, she seems, she almost seems real, and that creates some tension between Roscoe and Samantha. And there's some other things going on, but it's actually a really neat movie. If you get an opportunity to to view it. I do believe that's available on home video or DVD. Don't know if they've released it to Blu-ray just yet, but something that's really interesting. My son and I, we like to go to used record shops and used CD shops, and we're just kind of looking around to see what was available. And we actually stopped in the CD shop. My son said, "Hey, Dad, look at this," and it was an untouched, unopened copy of the Pixel Perfect soundtrack. I had to get it. So anyway, great movie, 2004 Pixel Perfect. Check it out. I think you really enjoy it. Up next, Stuck in the Suburbs. Stuck in the Suburbs, it had Daniel Panabaker, Brenda Song, who was part of The Sweet Life. This came out again in 2004. It's a good year for those Disney Channel original movies. And Taran Killam, the name you might recognize because he's on Saturday Night Live right now, but this is when he was much younger. Long and short of this story is teenager Brittany is bored with her quiet suburban life. But that all changes when she accidentally ends up with pop star Jordan Cahill's cell phone because they look so similar. And it's kind of a neat story. Again, a lot of these you have to kind of stretch your imagination a little bit, but it was fun, it's entertaining, and this was one of the very first, as a matter of fact, it was the first Disney Channel original movie that also had an accompanying soundtrack that was made available for sale. So that is Stuck in the Suburbs. Highly recommend it. Fun movie, and again, all of these are really fun. You can pop any of these in, and even some of those that I haven't mentioned. If you're just wanting something a little bit different, and of course, Disney Channel original movies are still a thing. They're still making them. There's some in post-production. Descendants was a pretty big hit. So there's some real treasures to be found out there. The next one, Cowbells. This again was and these Disney Channel original movies, a lot of these serve as kind of launching pads for some of the up-and-coming Disney stars. This one came out in 2006, and this featured Aly and AJ Michalka, which, by the way, they're now a full-time singing group, and I think they're still shopping for a record deal. But I've actually got some of their music. But this starred them as two, following a similar theme, kind of to Horse Sense, in that they are well-to-do. Their dad owns a dairy. They've got everything. Their concerns are things that most kids don't have concerns about because they don't have that kind of disposable money, in their pocket. But long story short, the girls end up in a difficult position when they are told they have to go work in their father's dairy, and they find out that the dairy's in trouble. That somebody absconded with their dad's money, the profits from the business, and trusted, somebody that they thought was a trusted friend. And the girls have to help figure out a way to save their father's dairy, and in doing so, they learn some life lessons. Cowbells, fun movie, especially if you like Aly and AJ, and I do. So I heartily recommend that one as well. And then I've saved these last two simply because they're probably some of the better known ones, but I enjoyed them immensely. Even, some of these are what I would consider hidden gems, but the next two you'll know instantly. Camp Rock. This came out in 2008. This actually starred Demi Lovato and the Jonas Brothers, among others, and Allison Stoner, who, by the way, told my daughter one time she had the most beautiful eyes she'd ever seen. So there's that. This is a story about it's kind of a Cinderella story of Michi Torres. She's a teen with an amazing voice, and she's got this driving ambition to be a pop singer, and she wants to spend her summer at a prestigious rock and roll camp. And so anyway, she does that. She's befriended by some fellow campers, but she's intimidated by an immensely talented crowd of people. So anyway, she ends up living a double life. She's the cook's daughter, and she doesn't tell anybody, but then she's this aspiring singer. And then, of course, she and one of the Jonas Brothers, sparks fly, all that. But this one was really, really well received. As a matter of fact, if you look on Wikipedia, on the Disney Channel original movies, they've got a list of them about the highest rated premieres. This is in, I believe, the top 3. And of course, it spawned a sequel, Camp Rock 2. But great Disney Channel original movie. And again, several thumbs up. If you get an opportunity to watch it, is really a lot of fun. And the one I've saved for last, I think everybody already knows what this is. It's High School Musical. High School Musical was not just another Disney Channel original movie. This is when they really seem to hit their stride. This, of course, starred Zac Efron, as well as Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Tisdale, Corbin Bleu, Lucas Grabeel, and then Monique Coleman. And I think you all know the story if you've ever seen it. Troy Bolton, he's kind of this basketball hero, and Gabrielle Montez, she's kind of a smart geek who just moves into the area. Anyway, it's sort of almost like Grease, modern day retelling of Grease. They'd met during a New Year's party while both of their families were on vacation. They ended up kind of being coerced into singing, a New Year's Eve song on karaoke. They end up coming back. It turns out, they see each other back again in high school. And what ends up happening is neither of these guys is particularly interested in the theater, but they end up becoming involved in it. And it turns out they're both really pretty good. So, and it's kind of a story of, venturing out beyond your familiar zone and branching out and seeing what you, maybe there's some things that you want to do that you weren't aware that you wanted to do. But it's really a neat story, and I think the rest of the history of this thing. It went nuclear. Lunch boxes. The Disney marketing machine was in full swing. You couldn't go anywhere, do anything without hearing about High School Musical. The soundtrack rocketed to the top of its genre, teen pop, and stayed there for a long time. Spawned 2 other sequels. As a matter of fact, they're even casting right now. I just recently read they're casting now for High School Musical 4. They're going to bring on a whole new cast and everything. It was directed by and choreographed by Kenny Ortega, who, among other things, was involved with movies such as Xanadu and Dirty Dancing and some other movies. But just like I said, it was a phenomenon unto itself. And again, that came out in 2006. And you remember when Frozen first came out and how often you heard "Let It Go" everywhere you go? You still do. Well, when the High School Musical came out, the song "Breaking Free" was everywhere. It was on the radio. It was anywhere you turned, you were not going to escape it. But a really great Disney Channel original movie. I had a couple daughters who were in theater, and as a matter of fact, one of them got to have a part in the High School Musical in our local community theater, and it was so fun to watch. But again, I heartily encourage it. If there's other Disney Channel original movies that maybe I didn't bring up, like maybe Smart House or Genius or any of the Xenon sequels as they're called, or just any others that I didn't mention them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what are your favorites. And there are a lot of them. Like I said, they've been doing this for well over 20 years, whether it's Halloween Town, Return to Halloween Town, Lemonade Mouth, Descendants. They're everywhere, and they're constantly making them. Teen Beach, all of these are a lot of fun. And again, they're a nice bit of escapism, even beyond your love for all things Disney, where the parks are concerned, or other things. So I really do encourage that. Again, make sure you comment below what you think of mine and Duffy's list, Paper Duffy that is, and I'd love to hear what your list consists of. Anyway, we appreciate you stopping by again today. As always, we love having you here. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Did I mention subscribe? Do subscribe. Remember, we do have our giveaway going for just under a week of the Cars 2 DVDs. We'd love to be giving one away to you. So this is Disneyopolis. We are everything Disney all the time. Thank you so much for stopping by.